Hi everyone, and a shout out to Bonsai Al from Panorama City, California, and to everyone at the Vietnam Bonsai Society whose show we attended in the recent past. They had some absolutely beautiful trees there. Now if you're wondering about this bougainvillea, if you'll take a good look at the trunk, you'll recognize this as one that I worked on in the recent past, April of 2014 as a matter of fact, and when we finished with it, it didn't look like this. But we had an absolutely wonderful growing season this year, and lo and behold, now it looks like a bonsai. The only real concern we have with this one at this point was selecting a front. What you're looking at was the front we originally intended to go with, and as a matter of fact, that's the front we are going to go with. However, we did have a brief experimentation with an alternate front, and I'll turn it around and show that to you now. And we were looking at roughly this angle here as a possible front, but after talking to some sensei and some experts, we decided to go back to the original plan. So the first thing we really need to do with this tree now is trim it back, because it not only filled in wonderfully in terms of developing great branching, but it also got a bit overgrown here. So we'll start out by doing a little bit of pruning here, and we'll just kind of look at what we need to take off and kind of bring things back into line here. And we're also going to look at foliage that can be taken down a little bit. So we have this branch here, which is kind of crossing another one, so we'll take that all the way back in. And then we've got these guys that kind of rise up vertically, so they gotta go. Now this was some really great development we got in on this tree in this past growing season. We're near the end of the season here, so we're going to leave it a little bit more than we otherwise would, because right now we've got 4 or 5 weeks left in the growing season at most. Look at the size of that leaf. That's a sign of really good response to fertilizer. Okay, we'll take that. Then we'll come around to this side and we'll start going back in here. And then kind of come around. Now this is pretty much the same technique that we've used on all the other bougainvilleas. Where's this coming from? This is a down hanger, so this guy's kind of got to go, or it's got to be taken back and wired out or something. We'll take an option on that one, and we'll just bring these back. One of the things that I did with this tree when I originally shaped it in the previous video was I left it overly long on top, and that's done for 2 reasons. One is to disguise the transition to the new growth from the place where we had to make a cut in the initial shaping, and I'll bring it around here so you can actually see the cut. It's right in there. But the other thing is, with bougainvilleas, if you don't leave a little extra on top, they tend to die back from the top down during the winter. So the wise and cautious thing to do is to leave it some extra on top. In this case, this was our original long apex that we left at the end of the last video. Then when we decided to tinker with the front, we went to this one. But this one is still going to work very nicely after we wire it a little forward here. And what we're just going to do is kind of take it off down to here and leave this as the new leader. And that will give us the tree. Now the next thing we have to do is we have to get the old wire off of this thing and do some rewiring. Now with a lot of bonsai, what you will typically do is take the wire cutter and cut the old wire off. But with bougainvilleas, that's not always possible. So we tend to rather carefully unwire. And this tree has actually been wired twice in this growing season, and you can see this is the newer wire that's being unwound here, and then there's another older wire farther in that also has to come off, and then we'll leave it unwired in the winter and start wiring again next year in the spring. Okay, at this point we've taken all the old wire off the tree. We put on one new wire that it's going to carry through the winter in order to bring the apex back forward to its eventual position. And now we just need to look around a little bit and maybe do a little bit of pulling off leaves. This doesn't really matter. It's going to lose some of these leaves during the winter anyway and grow a new crop in the spring. But just take a look around and see if there's anything else we need to do. I don't really think so at this point. I think the tree looks pretty good the way that it is. So let's just do a slow 360 now. Oh, one more thing before we do that. We have a pot that we purchased for this tree, and this is the pot that it's going to go into next spring. Can't do it this year because we already took a bunch of roots off earlier this year and we don't have enough growing season left. So it'll stay in the training pot until next March, April, somewhere in there. And then we'll take some roots off the bottom, pot it in this pot, which will harmonize beautifully with the purple flowers. So this is really nice Korean-made pot, and it's a cream glaze, heavy rectangle. Going to be a very heavy pot and tree combination by the time that we're done. Definitely going to be a two-person tree, maybe even a three-person tree. We'll just have to see about that. So anyway, we'll do our slow 360 now and show you where we are with it at this point. And then we'll pick up again with this tree next spring. Thank you for watching, folks.